Hello, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Thanks for coming. I see we already have questions, which is phenomenal. I really appreciate that. Thank you to everybody for being here. Those of you who are here at the start, as well as anyone who shows up later, but it definitely helps to get questions early. So I do have, by the way, some that were left on my announcement. So if I need to, I kind of will fill in with those because there were some really good questions there. Um, by the way, Ray is here with me. He is sleeping on the desk. I don't know if we'll see him or not today. That is very much up to him and what his little kitty brain prefers. I am going to try to keep this to somewhere around an hour. So let's go ahead and jump into the questions. And you know, it's weird. There was one here from a viewer about 10 minutes ago. And now that I'm actually starting the stream, I don't see it anymore. And I have forgotten what the question was. So Blue Mercury, if you're still here, do me a favor and just paste it in again, because for some reason it's gone, at least on my screen. So for the moment, at least, I will go to Star of Night's question. What was my inspiration to get into making YouTube videos? So for me, that was XCOM Enemy Unknown. I just fell in love with that game and I kind of sucked at it. So I was trying to find things online like guides and anything that would help me play better. That's really how I discovered Let's Plays. I knew YouTube existed, but I had no idea, about something like Let's Plays. So that kind of, it was a whole process, but that kind of took me down the rabbit hole that ultimately led to me starting my own gaming channel, playing Enemy Unknown badly on camera. And so, yeah. All right. Anthony Giassi, maybe. I hope I'm not butchering that too bad. What is the best team composition by class for the Assassin Stronghold mission? That's a really good question. So I would definitely say start with whichever class, she's weak to. So I know at least in my campaign, it's the Skirmisher. I believe that changes, in every playthrough potentially. But so for me, I will be bringing a Skirmisher on my current campaign. And then, I have kind of fallen in love with a team composition of Ranger, Specialist, Sharpshooter, 2 Grenadiers. And so those are kind of, my core 5, 1 of everybody, but 2 of a Grenadier. And then, a lot of times I'll bring a Reaper or somebody like that along. So actually, that'll be an interesting choice. Now that you ask it, I haven't put enough thought into this. If I bring a Skirmisher, do I leave the Reaper behind or do I leave my extra Grenadier behind? I'm not going to leave any, I personally think you almost always want one each of the different classes because they all do bring unique things to the table that you're going to need. So yeah, I think I'll probably leave the Reaper behind, even though Reapers are crazy good. Will I name an XCOM soldier after Ray? No, I don't do that. I never named one after Willow, our prior cat either. It's just if I got Ray killed in the game, that's just hitting a little too close for me. So I've never named soldiers after anyone that I actually know in real life. So I wouldn't put my wife's name on one or a close friend or anything like that. Jeff K said, I noticed the Haunted Mansion poster on your wall. Are you a fan of the Disneyland theme parks? Yeah, 100%. I love theme parks in general. Our favorite destinations for vacations is Orlando. And I live in Southern California, so it's not like I can't go to Disneyland or even Universal anytime I want. But they're very different there. and we have a great time. So my favorite theme park is actually Universal's Islands of Adventure in Florida. But yeah, I'm definitely a Disney theme park fan. And I've had just countless happy hours there. Let me say there's a lot of people who are saying good morning. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Somebody reminded me about Blue Mercury's question, whether or not I had seen a video on YouTube of Advent soldiers being translated. So I assume because they speak this kind of gibberish that somebody has inserted text to their own, right? I have not seen it. It sounds like it could be funny. I mean, you know, it all comes down to the writing, of course. John Burns asked, what was my career before YouTube? It's the same as it is during YouTube because I do not make the kind of money on YouTube that it would require for me to give up my job. I have been in the accounting game for a long time. Christopher Hayes, well, that's not really a question, but it is a very nice compliment. Thank you. I appreciate anytime, you know, somebody is happy with the videos or, you know, so in your case, telling me I have a nice voice. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So let me see what else. Sailor JBN, in your first Q&A, you said no to commercials, voice acting jobs because I get hoarse easily. What if it's in an XCOM game? Yeah, it's, you know, it isn't that I wouldn't do a commercial or something like that. I would just be anxious about that. It depends on the nature of the thing. And I've never pursued voice acting. I've never pursued any of that kind of work. My thing, like, let's take as an example, if someone, maybe they watch the channel or whatever, and they said, hey, you know, I think you'd be really good at narrating this audiobook. And the expectation was that I would go into a studio for 4 hours a day for however many days it took and, you know, do this reading. My voice wouldn't hold up to that. And I know it wouldn't hold up to that. On the other hand, if somebody sent me a 90-second spot or 30-second spot and asked me if I could do some kind of voiceover for it, you know, that's totally different, and I'm sure I'd be fine with it. I'm not like philosophically opposed to it or anything like that. Okay, so Nikki Zero Cool, would you ever play a challenge style playthrough? Example, no squad upgrade. Yeah, I would. I think for me, there is this kind of balance. Like, I know I've been, to the extent that I ever watch Let's Plays anymore, pretty much the only channel that I ever do watch is Syken for games, and he plays XCOM, and he does just nutty challenges. What was the one that he did not too long ago that I just thought was insane is he wasn't allowed to shoot a gun, and he wasn't allowed to use explosives. So he was mostly just using swords. Later, he got some psionic guys up and running, and that was a huge boost. I wouldn't have even thought it was possible to beat the game that way. Once I saw him do it, I realized if you're willing to take your lumps early, you actually can get there. But here's my point, is that I wouldn't want to play that particular challenge because I just would so not enjoy that process of getting the living crap beat out of me all the time while I was trying to, you know, work my way up the power curve. I need for the game to be just a little bit of fun for me, right? Like, I don't mind that XCOM's hard. I don't mind that sometimes we get beat up. I actually uploaded a video, just, you haven't seen it yet. It'll be a week or so, but it didn't go well. And I'm okay with that. I may get frustrated in the moment, but it's okay. But I can't take that mission after mission after mission. You know what I mean? Like, I need to feel like I'm doing okay overall. So I would do a challenge, And I don't mind if it's a hard challenge, but I would want to feel like I can do this and we won't just get beat to holy hell every single mission. Wow, I don't know how to pronounce the first word. Viviter Monkey? What do you like most about your channel? You know, I'll be honest, it's probably this. I mean, I like playing games, obviously, and uploading them is fine. Editing is my least favorite part, but it's the conversation. I mean, comments, and I think this is true for most, comments on videos are really huge for me. I love it when people, you know, I don't know, make suggestions or make observations about things that I didn't necessarily think of in the heat of the moment while I was playing. And the Q&A is just like the ultimate expression of that. I actually looked this morning, and it's been 6 months since I've done one of these, and that makes me sad. I want to do them about every 2 or 3 months. I just get absorbed in, you know, the daily grind of producing videos and whatnot. Lawsuit Dodger asks, have I ever considered streaming on Twitch? Yes, but at least for the foreseeable future, I don't see myself doing it. I think to the extent that I stream, it will be here on YouTube. I have no following, of course, whatsoever on Twitch. And I could, of course, tell people here that I'm on, but Twitch is a platform where it's extremely difficult to get noticed, to get any visibility whatsoever. If you're not already big, it's extremely difficult to make any headway. And honestly, I don't really have the time or the drive. Like I'm such a small channel, even in the context of YouTube. And so instead of working to get more noticed on YouTube, now I start splitting my attention on a whole new platform. It just isn't really something I want to do. Doxed, I don't know how to pronounce that. Favorite hero class in XCOM 2? War of the Chosen. Yeah, yours is the Reaper. That's probably mine too. I mean, I actually think that the Templar is the one I have the most fun playing. There's just something about running up to somebody, smacking the hell out of them with this purple glowy sword. And then when they try to hit you back, you put parry up and they can't touch you. That's just hilarious. It never gets old for me. But I think the Reaper almost breaks the game. They're just crazy good. I mean, like if you've been watching my current series, you know, like I've executed both alien rulers. Virtually every time we fight a Chosen, I use Banish to get rid of them just as quickly. I mean, it's busted. Okay. What's next? Nobility 54. 2 Grenadiers really help to either get a good opening strike, shredding armor, or opening up a wall to get better shots with the rest of the squad. Yeah, 100% agree. I rarely open up walls, but it's a totally valid strategy and arguably one I should use more than I do. And for me, I put real work into making my Grenadiers good. You know, I give them the aim PCS if I can get it, give them the best scope I can. And you get Shredder, Chain Shot, Hollow Targeting on a Grenadier and give them some blue screen rounds, and they make every robotic enemy in the game trivial. It's crazy. And those are the guys that towards the end, Sectopods, Gatekeepers, you know, and even just the good old fashioned heavy mechs. Those are the guys that'll wreck your squad. And the Grenadiers make them a joke for the most part. Thank you, Mr. McBaldspot. I appreciate the, you know, the compliment. And Ray doesn't give you the stink eye. Don't worry. Alex Orozco asks, how old is Ray? We don't know his exact age. We adopted him from a shelter about 2 years ago. I think their estimate was that he was 2 years old at the time, but they always give you a range. Like they'll say 1 to 3 or something like that. So he's probably somewhere in the ballpark of 4 years old. Purple Hawk 22, do you think the AI has been dumbed down? It seems like more and more enemies are just ignoring wide open flanking shots or moving twice in a single turn. I haven't had enemies move twice in a single turn more than like 2 times this campaign so far, if that many. I know it happened once, but that's the only one I can remember. No, I don't think so. I think the AI has always been pretty dumb. It's what I count on, quite frankly. When I play, I mean, I talk about it all the time. I pretty much know what they're going to do. And that tactical analysis has screwed me up a couple of times. It's a really powerful resistance order, but by limiting them to one action, it does seem like it changes what they'll pick sometimes. But no, I think the AI has always been, it's not dumb so much as it's just very rigid. And so once you know what it is they're most likely to do, you can abuse that. And that's what I try to do. John Burns says, you remind me of my accounting professor. I definitely see it now. I choose to take that as a compliment. So thank you. Holly Sombrero, if they ever end up making XCOM 3, what is the one thing you would want them to change? This is the kind of question I would have to have some time to really think about, I think. Maybe making the AI less predictable. I mean, my number one would be the bugs. This game is so buggy, and unfortunately, this season I'm having more crashes. I think that episode just went live. And there was actually at least one crash, I think, that you don't even see, because like I was replaying the turn and it crashed again. So like that whole thing just, got cut out. The crashes are really out of control, and that's a problem I never really had before. So I don't know if there's something about my current PC configuration that's just not playing nicely with XCOM. But, the weird thing is I played a campaign off camera before, I started recording this to get back and practice, and I wasn't having that problem. So I don't know what's going on with that. But I don't have a good answer for you, because it's way easier for me to kind of take a game like, okay. I will say this. So if I think about War of the Chosen specifically, the one mechanism that I just hate, at least how it's currently implemented, is fatigue. I think fatigue actively makes the game worse, and it conflicts with a lot of other things that they put in it that was cool. So I would either take it out completely, or I would really dial it down. So Content Surprise asks, what game I've been playing off video a lot recently. I will tell you, man, Elden Ring. Holy crap. I think I have about 90 hours into Elden Ring. I've stopped playing about a week ago because I was running out of backlog for XCOM 2 videos to go live, and I had to get off my ass and actually start playing again and recording. But I would like to make some kind of videos about Elden Ring. I'm just not sure what that would be, because I'm not good enough to make really good guides. And I'm not going to start a new character and play it through to completion. It's just way too long a game for that. So I don't know what it'll be, but I hope I can at least do 1 or 2 videos, because for a good 2 weeks, I was just obsessed with Elden Ring every day. Let me see. Mystery Meat asks, if you won a Firaxis golden ticket to make one change in XCOM 2, what would you change? Okay, well, basically, I just answered that. I would say, can you please do something about the fatigue issue and bugs? I don't know that most people agree with me on fatigue, though. That's just my own personal take. I'm pretty sure I'd have broad consensus on the bugs. Let's see. Chemical Imbalance. Who are your favorite YouTubers? That's a really good question. Let me do this really quickly. So I watch Psychin for Games is the only Let's Player that I ever watch anymore. And you know what? I'll tell you the new one that I've just been watching all the time is Nerd of the Rings. And he does these really nice videos where he'll pick a particular character from Lord of the Rings or a specific situation or group of people, and he'll kind of walk you through, and he'll pull from Silmarillion, Lord of the Rings, letters. There's a book of letters that were published where Tolkien discussed, Middle Earth and stuff. I find it really interesting, and I've probably in just the last 10 days or so since I discovered his channel, I've watched probably 60 of his videos or something. I really like it. Oh, that's a good question. So Docs asked, the last time I had a squad wipe, I think it was when I was playing Enemy Unknown. I don't think I've had one in, oh, no, I take it. Well, that was still Enemy Unknown. Never mind. I remember doing a replay where I normally play Enemy Unknown on, what's it called, Classic or something, the second highest difficulty. And I tried a campaign on Impossible, and I had this amazing mission in a graveyard map where we triggered every single enemy on the map at once. And God, we almost won. I missed this one key shot, and it was a squad wipe. But I don't think I've ever had one in XCOM 2. I can't remember one. Let's see. So, yeah, Magic Giscard, I kind of agree with you. Reaper's the most useful class. Templar is the most fun class. I'm with you. And then for me, the Skirmisher is just such a miss. I feel bad for the Skirmisher because I just never even really want to bring them on missions. It isn't that they're bad. It's just that I'd always rather have somebody else, So I guess in that sense, they are bad. Are there any mods? Oh, sorry, Trickster God 91. I do want to try to identify the people asking the questions. Are there any mods you use for XCOM 2? I have it on PS4 and don't have Chosen, and it looks so much different than the base game. I do use mods. If you check the description of my videos, you'll see a list. Now, unfortunately, I'm really struggling right now with my mods. Like I try to use one called Show Health Values so that instead of counting those little pips for enemies with a lot of health, it just shows you the number. Can't get it to work. I spent like an hour and a half the other night trying to get it to work, and it's just so weird. It relies on another mod that has to be running, for it to work. I managed to get that one going finally, but Show Health Value still just doesn't go. So I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of getting ready to give up on it. And a lot of people ask me about Long War and stuff, and I'm having so much trouble getting even basic mods to run. Even if I really wanted to play Long War, that whole concept is just really scary to me right now because my mods are so shaky. Meow Meow, love that name. Are you a strictly strategy gamer? No, I just mentioned I'm playing the hell out of Elden Ring. That's not what I would call a strategy game. I like difficult games. I like games that make me think. And I'm not good at action games from the standpoint of being really skilled with a controller. So the only way I can take on a game like Elden Ring is by using my brain to put myself in a position where, I could do well. Or I just have to play a lot, to develop even basic combat skills. Purple Hawk 22 asked what I dislike in War of the Chosen compared to vanilla. I already mentioned fatigue. I would say the other thing, honestly, I'm not really a big fan of the Chosen. I think they're just so poorly written, and I hate how they do the voice work. I think the Hunter is pretty funny and pretty enjoyable. But the Warlock and the Assassin are just annoying. So I'm not really a big fan of the Chosen themselves and how they're implemented. But I would keep them over Fatigue. Okay, so let me see. Nikki Zero Colas for this season so far. What's your favorite? I cannot believe that happened moment. This is another question that I would really have needed some time to think about, because for me, you know, like I record so many episodes and then I spend so much time editing them, and there tends to be a kind of blur that happens over time. You know what it might be is not too long ago an episode went live where I can't remember if it was my Reaper or who, but somebody just jumped down off of a tall building onto like a lower level of roof. And it just so happened there was a pod in the building like behind where they were jumping down, and the front of the building was a window there. And so not only did they get revealed to that pod, but there was one in front of us that we already knew about, and now we got revealed to them. And so instead of setting up an ambush, I think that's right. I named that video something like literally ambushing myself. That one is at least way up there. That's the one that I'm, you know, can remember off the top of my head. Nobility 54 asks if there's an effective way to incorporate spark units during a campaign. They just seem so resource intensive, but the idea of a robot squad is intriguing. Yeah, I think if you're willing to do the story mission, you get a free spark. You go there and you get a spark. So that's your first one for free. But you're right, it is resource intensive. I don't recommend them at all in the base game because they kind of suck. You can't upgrade their weapons or anything, and their aim is just so bad. But in War of the Chosen, I haven't really been using mine because I just got them up and running so late, but they can be really good. Because they don't suffer from fatigue, it really helps you manage your squad. So I would say if you can, they're worth getting up and running in War of the Chosen. Hey, Ray. Hey, buddy. You want to say hi to everybody? No, you just want to get some food. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Left World 333 asks how I feel about Chimera Squad after starting back with XCOM 2. I really enjoyed Chimera Squad, and I know a lot of people bash it, and a lot of people can't forgive it for not being XCOM 3. I was fine. Like, to me, what it was trying to be, I really enjoyed playing it. I did 2 full campaigns. It's not deep enough or difficult enough that you can play it again and again and again the way you could XCOM 2, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. And I wish more people would actually give it a try, because particularly for the price they were charging, I think it was a, you know, more than reasonable value. Meme Master asked, for XCOM 3, can you think of a class they could add to the roster? Well, so what I would say, I assume they won't have hero classes the way they do in, you know, War of the Chosen. I would like, I think, because I think we all see how powerful the Reaper is, and you don't need to make them that powerful, but a stealth type character, you know, like in base XCOM 2, you had the Ranger, but their stealth kind of sucked because the zone at which they can be revealed is just so big. And you would constantly pass too close to a civilian you didn't know was there or something, and you get revealed. So something like a Reaper, but not as overpowered, where like once you really get a Reaper promoted and, you know, get them a bunch of skills, they're just like killing machines, you know, who can't be seen. But something stealthy like a Reaper, for scouting and stuff like that. But less OP. I think that would be a good thing. And then your ranger is just like, they're the ones who get in close and really, do the shotgun to the face. Oh, here comes Ray. Hey, little guy. Want to say hi to your adoring public? You're the star of this show. You know that. All right. Delete, I think, is the name. Can we get an episode where you play with a flowery Hawaiian shirt, using a sombrero, and drinking your tequila? Well, maybe with the shirt, I'd have to buy the sombrero. And then people will call me racist and stuff. Like, that's the whole... enough said. I don't drink. Honestly, I don't drink alcohol. So, okay. What else have we got? Let's see. I'm looking for quite a lot of people are just making comments, which is fine. But let me see. Yeah, Purple Hawk 22. I'm not going to argue. But I agree. Like, this is what I was saying, right. So his feelings is, personally, I love fatigue. I hate playing the same 6 to 10 soldiers. I get it. And I know there's other people who say that. My point, by the way, is that I feel like War of the Chosen already has a lot of stuff that makes you not do that. You got to spend time training guys for bonding. You have to put guys in the infirmary to get rid of these, conditions that they give them. And you go on covert ops with different guys and all these different things. So you already have a lot of incentive to not just use 1 or 2 squads. And I would be fine with a little bit of fatigue. It's just like, Jesus Christ, you take a guy on one mission and then he's on the shelf for a week or 2 weeks. And I just think that's a little ham-fisted. So I guess I did end up arguing with you, but I'm not trying to do it in the sense of, you're wrong, you should dislike fatigue. No, like, if you like it, that's totally cool. So anyway, Nikki Zero Cole asked what my build is in Elden Ring. I am melee pretty much 100%. I have a strength-based character. I am currently just mashing the hell out of guys with this enormous hammer. I started off with the Morning Star pretty early on. And it's very effective, but you just realize that if you want to really break people's poise, and if you really want to do big damage, you have to step up to the higher strength weapons. Let me see. Okay, thank you, Dark and Shade. I appreciate the kind words. Dogs asked if I've ever considered making a Discord server. I have. I just don't have the time to spend on Discord myself, and I don't think there would be a lot of value in setting one up if I'm not there. Anthony Giassi asked if I've ever used the Valkyrie class. He really likes them. No, I think I've seen that name. I assume that's a mod. And I generally avoid mods that change the gameplay. I prefer the quality of life mods. So I don't have an opinion on the Valkyrie class. Let's see. Yeah, SI unit. I normally would have installed the Hush Little Chosen mod, but the Hunter is too fun to listen to. I didn't know about that one. I do agree, though. I get a kick out of the Hunter. I like that he's a wise ass, and he's the only one I really enjoy. Okay, thank you again to Kid Caliber or Calibre, however you pronounce that. Meow meow, how annoying are the nitpicky comments on your XCOM videos? LOL. Yeah, I will admit, so I don't mind when people make suggestions or ask me, did you think about this or did you think... I don't necessarily need the ones that are just, you went left and you should have went right. You went up and you should have went down. Like, yeah, it gets old. I won't lie. It's not... What happens is just... it's not that one is the end of the world. It's that over time, it just wears you down. Okay. Have you ever had a soldier die in XCOM and get so upset that you punched one of your action figures? No, I haven't. I have not done that. But I like the image. Let's see. I think the most challenging run might be listening to all the voice lines and watching all the cinematics. Yeah, you're not wrong. That would kind of suck. Let's see. Thank you, Ivan. A lot of people, very generous, very kind comments. I appreciate all of them. Thank you. Marcusor asks if I find sparks useful at all. I always seem to run one or two just because I'm a fan of robots. As I said, I think in War of the Chosen, yes, they are useful. One, Firaxis finally unclenched a little and let you upgrade their weapons. So now you can actually give them an aim boost, which they really badly need. And two, the fact that they are immune to fatigue is huge. Also, you know, like, take them on a warlock mission because they can't be mind controlled and stuff like that. There are advantages to them. They're not OP by any stretch. Purple Hawk 22 asks, which is more useful, Psi Op or Templar? It's probably the Psi Operative. I hardly ever play with Psi Operatives. I'm just not willing to delay the things that I feel like I genuinely need, like good armor and weapons, to research psionics, build a psionic facility, and then spend months training them. But they're very good once you get them going. I mean, like, once you get mind control, you grab an Andromedan. I mean, you don't even need a mimic beacon pretty much at that point. They're crazy good, you know, to just drag around with you to soak up all the enemy fire. So yeah, it's probably the Psi Op. A wild ray appeared, exactly. Well, he's resting comfortably on my lap right now. Have I ever, so Yasmin G asks if I've ever considered making a series on the original 1993 XCOM UFO defense. I have considered it just in a very cursory way. I don't think it'll ever happen because, oh God, what was it? I think it was Fallout Tactics I tried to play, which I don't think is even as old as XCOM, you know, the original XCOM. And I didn't have the manual because I'm just downloading it, and this is a game that came with a manual, and I can't even figure out how the UI works. And it's so funny because I was gaming back in the 90s and the early 2000s. But it's so hard for me to go back to games of that era. I don't need necessarily to have my handheld all the time, but Jesus, I'd like to know how to play, you know? So I probably won't. It would be interesting to try it, but I also, things that I hear like, oh, you know, sometimes you step off the ship and you get shot in the head before you get to take your first action. Ha ha ha. That's not really my idea of an interesting challenge, so I don't know. I probably won't. Welcome, Bulletproof Blouse. Don't worry about being late. People always come and go through these. Trickster God 91 asks, knowing you've played Civ 5, have you ever thought of bringing Civ 6 to your channel in any way? Well, not only have I thought about it, but it's on the channel. I have a whole series where I played, I believe it's China. You could be one of the dozens who have watched it if you search for it. Sadly, I did not enjoy Civ 6. So here's a fun story people may find interesting. When Civ 6 was coming out, I was wrapping up, I believe it was season 4, a modded campaign I did with a better advent of XCOM 2. My intent was that was the last XCOM 2 stuff I would ever do for the channel because I absolutely loved Civ 5. I have a ton of series and videos about it on the channel. And I thought Civ 6 is coming. This is going to be my new game. This is what I'm playing. And man, I was probably like at the most 10 episodes into that game, and I kind of realized, woof. I actually have to finish this whole campaign before I can stop playing. I did not enjoy it at all. So I've never played it since that game. But there is a campaign, and I know it found an audience. So while I didn't care for it, there were people who did. Gabe Larson asked, when do we see an XCOM 3? All right, I did a really long answer to this in my last Q&A, so I'm not going to rehash everything I said. If you go to my last Q&A video, you'll see it. I put a, and I'll do the same thing in this one, by the way. I will try to put in bookmarks or whatever you call them, the chapter searches. I believe it was in that one. I did a long answer. The bottom line is I don't think you're going to see it anytime soon because Jake Solomon's team is working on the Marvel game. And then basically, if the Marvel game really does well, man, I don't know when we're going to see XCOM 3 or if we're going to see XCOM 3 unless they get a third team going, a third full team, because one team at Firaxis is just Civ. One is XCOM, or has been up to now, and currently is doing the Marvel Midnight Suns game. So they need to build a whole new team. And by the way, one thing I didn't know when I was asked this in my prior Q&A is a bunch of people left Firaxis to start their own studio. I think it's called BitLocker. And they announced they're making a Star Wars strategy game. So I don't even know what kind of shape Firaxis is in right now, you know? So I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon. What is behind you on shelves? So the shelves that you see are some things that are mostly video game related, just random stuff. So like I have a little chrysalid model. I have an action figure of a guy, the hunter from Bloodborne, with that saw. I forget what it's called, but it is a nasty looking saw. It's the one on the cover of the game. Let's see. I have a Lemming plushie. If you know the game Lemmings, that's old school. I have an action figure of the Beast from the X-Men. That's kind of pushing it as far as it being a gaming thing, but the X-Men have been a video game, so I'm taking it. I have a Magic the Gathering card, the Juzam Jin. It's a big, oversized replica. I have, now you can't really see so well maybe from here forward, but I have some of my favorite games of all time. Freedom Force, City of Heroes, Civ 5, XCOM 2, Mickey Mouse and the Castle of Illusion on Sega Genesis. That goes back a ways. Bloodborne. Super Mario Odyssey. Man, I love that game. It's the only Mario game I've ever played all the way through, or even for more than about 20 minutes. But I love Super Mario Odyssey. Content Surprise asks, have I checked back in on Darkest Dungeon 2 since I did videos on it? I have. And I've also watched Bear Taffy has played that game kind of throughout, and every once in a while I'll watch some of his videos. I'm never going to play that game again, I'm pretty sure. It's just, I dislike virtually every change they've made from the original game, and I don't really think they're making it any better. If anything, I think they're making it worse for my preferences. Deadly Blade 47 asks, if I could take two classes from two of my favorite games and combine them, what would they be? And what abilities would I give them? Maybe a class like from Darkest Dungeon XCOM. I think this question is way too big for me to come up with off the top of my head. It's not that it's a bad question, but I can't process that. Wow. like one thing, just different games. So I was thinking probably my favorite thing in Darkest Dungeon is the way the highwaymen or the men at arms have, riposte, where you attack them and they attack you back. If you think about it, that already is in XCOM 2, and I never use the ability because the specialist has that. If somebody fires at them, return fire. I'm thinking of other Overwatch abilities the specialist has, but the sharpshooter has it. Nobody ever takes return fire because you just take Long Watch, I think, is on the same tier. Maybe I'm misremembering. But the difference, of course, is that in Darkest Dungeon, there's only 4 of you. The highwayman is sure to get attacked reasonably often, whereas your sharpshooter almost never gets attacked. So, like, it's amazing in Darkest Dungeon, and it just sucks in XCOM. So okay. I don't have an answer because, man, I would probably honestly have to sit and think for almost an hour to really figure out something like that. And that would not make for an entertaining live stream, I don't think. So Viviter Monkey says, the sombrero talk reminded me of a traditional shirt called Guayavera. Have you ever tried one? No, I haven't. But I'm actually very curious. So I'm not going to take the time. I don't want to like completely bog down the stream. I just wanted to see it really quickly. So, okay, I have seen these. So I highly, encourage anyone who's curious, Google it. Yeah, I have seen these. I have never tried one. I didn't even know that name. It's so funny. I mean, I live in Southern California where Mexican culture is almost as prevalent as whatever you want to call traditional American culture. It's just by osmosis, you pick up a ton, But I did not know that word. Is the multiplayer in XCOM 2 worth checking out? This is from Nobility 54. I've been avoiding it to play the campaign and have seen mixed reviews about it on YouTube. Well, I think if you want to check it out, you better have a friend already lined up because you ain't going on the server and finding anybody. I'll tell you that. I've never done it. I can honestly say I've never played multiplayer in either Enemy Unknown or XCOM 2. So I don't have an opinion on it. I will say this. I realized, like with tactical analysis, I'm not always sure what guys can do in one action. I think one advantage of multiplayer, or even doing those challenge runs that they do, is that when you play as an alien, which you can do in multiplayer, you can pick your squad, and that includes aliens. If you want to learn what somebody is capable of, play as them, right? So if you spend time playing as an alien, you'll learn their attacks, and you'll learn like, hey, when a Lancer uses his, attack, his melee, he can actually do it the way Slash works, where the attack and the move are just one action, the same action. But is a chrysalid that way? Because I had assumed they were, and a recent mission basically made it seem to me like it's not. Like if they move next to you, but they only have one action, they can't attack. That's the kind of thing you could learn really well by playing multiplayer. So I don't know how fun it is, but if nothing else, that would be pretty cool. Doc Stats, which suit I prefer the most out of the Alien Hunter DLC? I think they're all good to varying degrees, but I feel like the Archon thing is the ability to just teleport pretty much anywhere on the map. I mean, that's so busted. So, I mean, you can put your sharpshooter anywhere on the map to, wreak havoc, but you can also drop your ranger down on somebody, and particularly in the base game where they haven't nerfed rapid fire, you can use it every single turn. Dropping a ranger on top of a particularly dangerous enemy so they can rapid fire at point blank range, that's crazy good too. Honestly, each of the three suits, when you think about it, the Ranger, you could make at least a case, gets the most out of them, although they can obviously only wear one at a time. Sorry, I got tongue twisted. Bulletproof Blouse, I need to just say that a little slower, says, I think I heard you say you didn't quite get on with Othercide. I found it not as accessible as XCOM, but the graphic style and soundtrack are just awesome. I would agree with all of that. Othercide is this really interesting kind of movement-based puzzle strategy game and timeline-based. I should make that clear. You're manipulating your position on the timeline. I was interested by it. I certainly wouldn't say I disliked the game, but it didn't grab me, and so I kind of bounced off of it pretty quickly. But I saw enough there that I tried it once, went away from it, and then a little while later, I actually did come back and I played it again just to see, you know, if a second try would get me there. But the graphics are really an interesting style, and from what I remember, the soundtrack was also cool. I would definitely say if you like turn-based strategy games and you haven't at least watched somebody play it on YouTube, you know, before you throw your own money at it, you should totally check out Othercide. It's a quality game. Whether you end up liking it or not, it's not some piece of crap, you know, that somebody shoveled out the door. Let's see. Nikki Zero Cole asks, if you could turn any franchise into an XCOM style game, what would it be? It could be another game, movie, show, etc. Okay, so I actually got this question a long time ago in a Q&A, and I've been obsessed ever since I thought of the answer that I have, which is Dungeons and Dragons. Because I can't think of anything more perfectly suited to an XCOM style game. Like, you start off at level 1, and as you gain experience, you gain powers. Like, that's already baked into D&D. And there's this enormous, you know, lexicon of monsters of escalating power for you to face. And if you set it in the Forgotten Realms, there's a million locations you can go to, and there's already all kinds of lore about, you know, what you can put there and stuff. A well-made XCOM style game that's built around Dungeons and Dragons. You don't have to necessarily take the D&D rule set, but at least be inspired by them and keep kind of, you know, the core values of it. So I would love that. My next favorite would probably be Marvel superheroes. You know, I don't think it's as good a fit. It's not, but I just really enjoy. I've been reading comic books for decades, and I just love those characters, so I would gladly play something good like that. Yeah, Bulletproof Blouse also suggested she'd like to see me go through the War of the Chosen Legacy missions. I tried playing them very briefly, and it just felt like almost, if you've seen Squid Game, there's the glass bridge, and one side, like, there's all these different panels, and as you go, one will be just instantly breakable glass, and the other one is safe, but you don't know which is which. And the only way is pure guessing to move forward, and you either live or die each step of the way. That's kind of how I feel about the legacy missions. Like, you have to just play it enough times to learn the path. And maybe I'm being too hard on them because I didn't stay with it long enough. But I think it was the second mission. I don't know. It just seemed really ridiculous how many guys they jammed in a really small map. And if you stepped one tile to the left or to the right, then you were going to trigger more than you could handle. And I didn't really enjoy the experience. So I may do it at some point, but I don't know that it would make a great playthrough unless you want to see me after I've mapped that out, just play it once. Jeff Chaos, what video game or console was my first? This is oh, I'm sorry, Ray. I bumped him against my keyboard by accident just a little bit. When I was probably in my early teens, my parents bought some kind of Pong clone. I don't even know how long Pong had been out, but this is definitely pre-Nintendo Entertainment System, I think even ColecoVision or anything like that. And I loved it. I mean, you know, it's funny because even my older brothers and sisters didn't care about it, but I was fascinated by it. I would literally play Pong against myself. I just had one hand on each knob. As far as real console or computer, the first thing that I bought myself was a Commodore 64, I believe. And as far as the first game I played, the first one I remember playing, like kind of a more robust actual game, I think for the Commodore 64, a friend of mine bought one before I did, and he bought something called the Summer Games, which was based on the Olympics, but they were too cheap to pay a licensing fee. And I was just fascinated. I loved video games from the first time I was exposed to them. Okay, so Purple Lock 22 asks what I like most about War of the Chosen compared to vanilla. There's actually a lot. You know, there's a few things that grate on me in War of the Chosen, but I really like the covert ops, and some of the rewards you get, I think, are really cool. But, you know, I will also say, I had previously said that I prefer base game to War of the Chosen because there were things that bothered me in War of the Chosen that really bothered me, and they kind of outweighed all the stuff that I liked. Recently, before I started this series, I replayed both versions, and I played War of the Chosen first, and then I played base game, and I actually realized that the base game got quite dull for me in the late game because I kept going on mission after mission that felt very samey. And one of the things that I think is really underrated about War of the Chosen, it didn't get the headlines, if you know what I mean, is the fact that there's more mission types, you know, and more different types of maps. And so it's not like they dreamed up just these wild and crazy scenarios that are completely different, but they're just different enough that you're not just constantly going to the same handful of city maps and doing the exact same thing against the exact same guys. And it just helped relieve the tedium. It really did. So I actually think, even though that's such a low key thing, it's a subtle thing, that's probably the single biggest upgrade in a way for War of the Chosen for me. Let's see. Is Mimic Beacon 2 good? This is Alfredo Humperknuckle. Is Mimic Beacon 2 good? Would you ever do a no Mimic Beacon run? Is it too good? I don't think so. I think there's times you need it. Now, I have purposely said, because I do occasionally get complaints from people who think they're overpowered or whatever. And I used to bring, like, if I had enough faceless to do it, I would bring 3-4 Mimic Beacons on one mission. I do think on a normal mission, that does start to get a little bit over the top. And so I've started saying, okay, look, for this campaign, I'm going to limit it to 2. And even though I have enough faceless that I could do 2 more, I'm not doing that. And the only thing I think I would consider doing it for is something like the final mission where you have that the room at the end where it's infinite enemies and you don't know how quickly the avatars will spawn. So in that case, I feel like, you know, listen, anything goes, because even 6 Mimic Beacons, I mean, there's so many guys that it's kind of crazy. But no, I think they're very powerful. Listen, in one of my videos, I said the Mimic Beacon was probably the single most powerful thing to help keep your soldiers safe. And I had more than one person comment that no, the flashbang is the most powerful thing. I don't agree with them, but I thought it was interesting. It's not even universal that, you know, the Mimic Beacon is the single best piece of equipment. And I never hear anybody saying, how dare you bring, you know, a flashbang. Okay. Let me see. I kind of lost my, my spot here. Oh, okay. So Yasmin follows up the original XCOM question with whether I've ever heard of or played Xenonauts. I've definitely heard of it, and I can't remember. I think I do have it in my Steam library, and I think I tried it really briefly, but I'm not even sure that I did. So if I did, I bounced off it just immediately. But I couldn't tell you why or anything, and I may not even be remembering correctly. I literally may have never played it. Lawsuit Dodger asks, have I ever played Total War Warhammer 1, 2, or 3? I haven't. I did buy at least one of them on a Steam sale. Actually, I think I might have played the tutorial. I'll tell you, I just really struggle with the real-time combat in Total War. And when I say struggle, I don't mean I can't understand it. I mean, I just don't like it. And I don't like real-time combat in games of this type generally. There's a reason. Like, I've never once played an RTS on the channel. I always like the idea of them, but I have never finished an RTS, even off camera. There's a couple, like, oh God, what was it called? It's a World War II RTS, Company of Heroes or something like that. I'm sorry, I'm struggling to remember the name. I really enjoyed it, but I got to a certain point and I just kind of got played out. Warcraft 3 was another one I played about 75-80% of the way through, and I just couldn't get through it. And then, oh God, was it Rise of Nations? There's a few that I played a lot of, but I've never finished a single one of them. So I'm just not really an RTS guy. Anthony Giassi asks, would you consider using one of the newer hero classes like Commando, Black Hat, Xeno Hunter, etc.? I literally do not know anything about them. So I assume that these are things you get from mods. Would I consider it? Sure. But I think here's the problem. I think if I do another XCOM 2 series, people will be more interested in me doing a challenge run or something to make the game harder, like no mimic beacons, you know, or something like that, rather than me making it easier on myself by adding more hero classes. So I would be curious, but I don't know if I would use them. Okay, this is a really good question, I think. Comrade Skeever asks, any tips on recovering after a squad wipe in XCOM 2? Yeah, you know what? I mentioned I haven't really had a squad wipe in XCOM 2, but I definitely did. Man, I had some horrendous outings in Enemy Unknown back in the day. And the best advice I can give you is to just keep going. Like, after that squad wipe, I assume those were not your only 5 soldiers. If you need to recruit more rookies, recruit more rookies. And go on a mission and try to get some promoted. And it's going to be hard, but keep plugging. Keep going. That's, like, it really is that simple, because I know I had at least one campaign I did not believe I could win. And then I did, because I kept going. And I feel like XCOM in general, that is so true, whether it's on a particular mission or the campaign. You can feel like there is no hope. And yet, if you try, if you just start breaking it down and say, what do I need to do to move forward? You can get there almost all the time. Docs asked if Martin Riggs and Murtaugh are based on the Riggs and Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon. 100%. Excuse me. I had something go down the wrong pipe here. Yes. And I actually use those characters for, I believe it was season 4. It was either 4 or 5. I did one campaign where I named a bunch of characters after like buddy cop movie characters. And apparently I saved Riggs and Murtaugh to my character pool. And so now every single campaign I start, Riggs and Murtaugh are in my starting 4. I had no idea that that was going to be a thing, but they are. Let's see. So Miguel Arocha says, hi, greetings from Panama. Thank you, sir. Greetings to you as well. Yeah, okay. You know, thank you for mentioning this. SI Unit says they patched out multiplayer for XCOM 2 at the end of last month. I thought I had read that they were going to patch it out, and I didn't know if that had gone live yet. So unfortunately, not an option anymore. But I don't blame them. I understand. They got to maintain those servers, and nobody was using them. Let's see. Content Surprise asks if I have played any of the old D&D games. Yeah, I've played oh my God, I've played so many of those old, the so-called gold box games. Man, I played the hell out of those. I don't even know how many I completed. And then Eye of the Beholder 2 was a game I really enjoyed. I've played a lot of D&D games. Ironically, the one that everybody just gushes about, oh, criminy, I can't think of it. It's by BioWare. Baldur's Gate. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 2 especially. And I played that, and I just thought the writing, let's just say I'm not on the same page as a lot of people. So I did not play that one to completion. Let's see. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm going to butcher this name, but it's something like Nithavella says, if you want an XCOM D&D game, try Dungeons of Naheulbeuk. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I do know the game, and I actually have played it a little bit. It's not exactly D&D, but it's heavily inspired. You're right. It's very tongue-in-cheek, though, and the combat is not at the level of XCOM. Like, this is one thing I know a lot of people will suggest are various RPGs for me to try, but I understand, like, there's a big difference between playing something like Pillars of Eternity and playing XCOM. It's just not the same thing. And so for me, that challenge level, I really get going off of something like XCOM. Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Dragon 193 asks, which one of the Chosen is the hardest to beat, in my opinion? You know what? I don't think any of them are hard to beat. They're just a pain in the ass. Like, I hate how the assassin runs up, smacks you with her sword, and then runs away afterwards, so she doesn't have to pay for the fact that she's a melee, attacker. The Warlock doing mind control is probably the single worst thing that can happen to you, because he's immune to flashbang grenades and, all that, so you can't break it. I mean, that part's really rough. And then the Hunter is usually the easiest, but boy, I'll tell you, every now and then you can get on especially a city map where there's roofs. Like, if you're surrounded by buildings, and he'll start using that grappling hook to hop from building to building. And if you can't get to him, he can just keep flanking your guys and shooting them to pieces with that rifle of his. So any one of them can be a real pain. But honestly, once you can really get up on and focus on them, I don't really find them that challenging. So Bulletproof Plow says, showing my age, my first gaming item was the Atari 2600. Yeah, there was a family I was really close to, and they had the Atari 2600, and we played games like Lunar Lander and stuff like that. And so, I have some fond memories of the Atari 2600 as well, even though I didn't play it. And Dark and Shade mentions loving Coleco and television. And, my memory of, I think it was in with the Coleco, but it might have been in television. Is there was a Sears that my friend and I used to go to, and they had one of the two set up like a display model with a baseball game. And man, we played that damn thing so much. Yeah, I mean, we're just kids doing what kids do, playing this stuff for free. We had no intention of buying. But I played it so much. I mean, we literally got tired of the game. But we had a lot of fun with that old baseball game. Melon Chili Sauce asks if I've considered running an XCOM 2 campaign with the RPGO overhaul mod. I'm not familiar with that. So I think that's another one that I will just like drop into my browser really quick, and I'll look it up after the stream. Because I have actually been thinking about, even though I say I don't want to play Long War, and I don't really want to play Long War because it's long. But I've thought about like, well, what if I played 50 episodes or something like that to try it? I just don't know how satisfying that would be to people. But I would love to play an overhaul mod that doesn't go on forever in a day. Have I ever played indie horror RPG games like Yuppie Psycho? No, I don't think I have. I've played some horror games like Outlast, and they're honestly just a little too intense for me. But no, I haven't. What is the most underrated item in XCOM 2? Well, I think most people know how good blue screen rounds are, and they're probably still underrated because they're just stupid good. I mean, in the end game, the robotic enemies are 90% of your challenge. I'm sorry, Kid Caliber, if I skipped your question. I'm not doing it on purpose. There's a lot of questions in here. So what is the... Yeah, I don't think I have a good answer for you on that. Listen, I think the humble flashbang grenade is very good. I don't think it's better than the, the mimic beacon, but yeah, you know what? I guess I don't think there is one that's highly underrated, but is just amazing. So, yes, Nithavella, you are correct. Overwatch All is a mod. Waypoints are done by holding control while moving. Also true. So I assume you're responding to somebody else. Georgia B, very generous contribution. Thank you so much. Says, I recently came across your channel and I'm currently going through your older videos. I just want to say I love watching your playthroughs. I'm a new fan. Love it. Thank you very much, both for the kind words and the donation. I do appreciate it. I really do. What's that orange drink you always have in your videos? Super curious. It is Gatorade. It's orange flavored Gatorade. I discovered this years ago when I was on vacation somewhere very hot. And I was going to order Coke or something from the bar. And the bartender suggested that I would be better off with Gatorade in a very polite way. And I tried it and I was like, wow, you are so right. So I do drink Gatorade while I record to help, keep my voice from getting too hoarse and to rehydrate in general. So Refot Cirque, wow, man, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, asked, do you do challenges like sniper only campaigns or only bring one soldier on a mission? I never have, and I think about it sometimes just to get the achievements on Steam. I should at least try to do a little bit. Oh man, and we're already at an hour and almost 15 minutes, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon. So let me see. Let's try to get a couple of questions in. I want to do as many as I can before we go. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Vita Monkey says, I think as far as challenge or custom runs go, the question is more, is it fun or interesting rather than whether it's hard? Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it. I guess what I'm saying is I don't necessarily think Let me put it this way. Whether I asked people, would you care if it made it easier? The effect of making it easier is it's not entertaining if you just watch me go on flawless run after flawless run. And that's what would happen if I make the game any easier. How many missions do I have now where one person gets wounded? You know, so if you make it any easier, then nobody gets wounded. And then it just gets kind of boring. Let's see. Is it more fun to play when you've named your soldiers after viewers? It's not more fun. I feel guilty if anybody gets killed. You know, but it's funny. We haven't had anybody die since part 1, and that was Murtaugh, so it wasn't even named after a viewer. I was going to leave Riggs and Murtaugh, and everybody else gets renamed, you know? And it's just so funny that we haven't had a single death since. So, and no, I know it is meaningful for viewers. That's why I do it. It is a little bit more work for me, but it's not that big a deal. And so I've had fun with it, but I love doing anything kind of different with names. Like I mentioned, I named them after characters from buddy cop movies in one season. Sometimes without even saying anything, I'll just randomly name a character after some comic book character or an actor or, you know, just anything. And I get a kick out of stuff like that. When I mentioned the squad wipe that happened in Enemy Unknown, if you were watching earlier, I had actually named all of those characters after kind of celebrities of ill repute, you know? So like Britney Spears and Dr. Phil and Justin Bieber. And it was just hilarious to me because I made their character models look as much like them as I could. And Brittany was our sniper, and she did so well until she missed that last critical shot. Okay, so let's see. I just wanted to say thanks. Because of you, I've gotten into strategy games over the last couple of weeks. That was from Jason Garza. Thank you, Jason. You're more than welcome. Oh, Dragon Warden 93. Regarding video games, have you ever played any Tolkien-based video games like Lord of the Rings or Shadow of Mordor? I have, but it's been a long time. Like, I played Lord of the Rings online, and it was okay. I didn't stay with it for long, though. And I can't even remember the platform. There was a Lord of the Rings game. I think it was made by Interplay, which hasn't existed for a long time. So that should give you some idea. And I played that. So I have. I've even played like at least one tabletop game, like kind of a war game from many, many years ago based on Lord of the Rings. Purple Hawk 22 asked, do I watch any sports? I don't really anymore. I still follow sports, but I used to be a big sports fan. Like, you know, my Sundays would just be NFL football all day long, and I'd watch basketball. Baseball was probably my favorite to watch. I almost never do anymore because honestly, I only have so many hours in the day. So for me to work full time, come home, you know, try to play a mission, edit that video, do all that stuff, make a thumbnail. It's just not practical. I can't sit for 2-3 hours watching sports, you know. These games take too much time. Okay, I'm going to do like one more question or two at the most, and then we're going to go because I just can't. Melon Chili Sauce asked if I enjoyed Bloodborne. Have I considered doing a run through of Elden Ring? I have, but I'm not particularly good at the game. And it's just so long. And, you know, I don't think I want to do like a 100-part series or something. And for me, I guess here's what the point I really need to make. My fun in Elden Ring, for the most part, has come with exploring. There's actually things about the game I love, and there's things about the game I quite dislike. And I don't think I would enjoy recording a full series. And that has to do with certain elements of how it plays. And oh my God, I'm so sorry. I skipped right past another super chat. Bulletproof Blouse, thank you also for the donation. And she said, I've had a lot of free entertainment from this channel. So yeah, I'll pop a tip in the jar. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. And thank you for being a regular commenter. You know, like, I cannot overstate. It really does mean a lot to me, like the kind of support that you get on a series, like from comments and stuff. It just lifts my spirits. It really does. And it is what makes you feel like having a channel is worth doing. So for all of you, yes, I appreciate anyone who watches. I want to make that clear. But the comments really do add a lot. So Nikki Zero Cole says, what part of the story or lore would you like Firaxis to expand on? I always feel like the games could benefit from more story elements and would love more lore. I'm probably the opposite, Nikki. I don't think they're good at writing that stuff, to be honest. Like, I think the Chosen are kind of nonsensical. I don't think their story really makes any sense. And every time they try to go deep on that stuff, I just find it doesn't resonate with me. So unless they hire some really good writers, I would actually just have them go the other way and say, listen, I'm looking for emergent storytelling, people becoming kind of the hero of the campaign. Like, look at Chemical's story. Chemical started out as just this horrendous missing Grenadier. She had that one, episode against the Lost where she couldn't hit water if she fell out of a damn boat. And now she's just a beast. You know, she's amazing. And those are the stories in XCOM that I really love. So don't get me wrong. I do like the basic bare bones story, like Enemy Unknown. To this day, anytime I watch that final cutscene, I get choked up. I'm not ashamed to say it. But I don't need a lot. I don't. So that's for me. So, all right. I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. I appreciate everybody who showed up. Thank you so much. We will do another one, and I will definitely try not to wait 6 months before we do it. I don't want to do them like every other week because I think that kind of wears people out. But I would like to do them on a semi-regular basis. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. I hope we see you next time. All right.